we have here something very tasty. We have here a large bag of popcorn. Now, this is an ordinary popcorn. This is movie theater butter popcorn. Now, can you just see yourself going into the movies sometime? Right? In the theater? Can you, if you can resist that pull of the popcorn and the smell of the butter, you're pretty good. Well, they also tell me that this popcorn is a fairly good snack to eat, okay? Fairly healthy compared to others. Well, I can tell you that if you eat this whole bag of popcorn at one sitting, you're probably not going to feel too healthy for a while. Our bag of popcorn. Well, in our gospel today, Jesus gives us food that is always good for us. And he says, "Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me, and I in him." Well, right away what happens? People start arguing. How can this man give us his flesh to eat? But notice Jesus. He doesn't back down, and he doesn't change the message. But he does use their question to answer another question. How will he be with his followers after he has left this earth? That was an important question for those who first heard this gospel, and it's an important question for us tonight. How will Christ be with us? And very simply, he says, "I will be with you." He's telling in the gospel tonight, it was for the Christians, it was the last one of the gospels to be written. And it was written to the early Christians who would gather together by then, just like, pretty much like we do right now. And they had to be reminded that when they did this, Christ promised to be right with them. They and him, and we, and he and us. Promised to be with them. But it's always been a challenge. Always been a challenge, going right back to how can this man give us his flesh to eat? But it's important for us to remember this promise of Christ. Well, maybe an example of what that means from our own time might be helpful. What does this mean, that Christ promised to be with us? Well, Carol is an inmate over at the County Justice Center, about a block away. And her addiction brought her to jail. And so we got talking to her. And I asked her, what does it mean? Well, she comes to Mass at the Mass over in the Justice Center. He says, what does this mean to you? Why do you come? And these are her words. She said, coming to Mass gives me hope. I try and conduct myself with compassion. When I get out, when I'm feeling low and helpless, I can go to Mass and talk to God. I feel I have light. God does love me. This helps me love myself. I feel refreshed, better. This helps me with my addiction. It gives me clarity. I could feel bitter, But God did answer my prayers by getting me arrested. God said, this is the only way I can help you. And it forced me to stop my addiction. Well, as we continue tonight now and prepare ourselves to share in the body and blood of Christ, let's ask our God, what does this mean? Remember God's promise to us tonight to be with us. You eat my flesh and drink my blood. I am in you, and you are in me. And we need to ask ourselves, what do I face right now in my life that looks most difficult? What do I face right now in my life that looks most difficult? It could be something that just happened today, very recently, or it could be a long-standing difficulty, like Carol and her addiction. Let's just take a minute. See, just to stop. What do I face that's most difficult in my life right now? How are we doing? Does everybody have enough difficulties? Well, we only gave you 30 seconds, so I think that all of us can think of the difficulties that we face very quickly. And now let's remember what it means to us tonight. The words of Christ that are with us. When you eat my flesh and drink my blood, I am in you, and you are in me. And then let us take this message, let us take this promise of Christ as we face the difficulties both now and the difficulties in the future. This is the promise of Christ. We can face them.